the number one cause of death in children under the age of 18 is actually infant sleep-related death. So your child is more likely to die in that first year of life from unsafe sleep than they are from anything else until they turn 18. It's a really important and devastating issue. And from the research side, we're trying to still figure out what's going on.
Welcome back, viewers, watchers, listeners. I'm your host, Tyler Owen.
And I'm Jay McClellan.
And you're filling in for the big dog, our usual co-host, Clint McNear.
The man, the myth, the legend.
Was recently elected to Texas FOP president. He is in, I believe, South Carolina, attending the national FOP board meeting. I haven't got a report back. I asked him to do it in an essay format. And so once he gets that done, I can relay to all of our members just what the hell is going on at the national FOP board meeting. They are doing their typical stuff, and it's kind of cool though. I mean, all 50 states are up there.
Yeah.
In I guess HPOUs, Joe Gamaldi's vice president. There's just a lot of stuff going on.
Oh yeah,
so it's pretty neat.
Exciting times at FOP.
How was your drive in?
Not bad.
Except the DoubleTree mishap.
Yeah, so a little bit of double charge over the DoubleTree, but we'll get that squared away. No big deal. But
that hotel's kind of gone to crap last couple of years, I guess.
Yeah.
But they do have a quite lovely restaurant / bar at the bottom that we have spent a lot of hours in.
Yeah, I didn't attend it this year though, or this time.
For those that don't know, Jay McClellan is our new training coordinator, probably 5 or 6 months. Retired Missouri City police sergeant.
Police sergeant, yes,
Police
sir.
sergeant, yeah. Yep. Who we got on today, man?
Yeah, so we got Danny Brewster on. He's from the Fort Bend Medical Examiner's Office, chief over there. And he's also brought on Savannah Lusk.
Savannah
Lusk, yep. So they're here to talk about some training and that they've created for basically rural law enforcement. I mean, it could be used in big cities, but really it's designed for rural deputies and officers who don't typically interact with medical examiners' offices. He contacted me regarding this training, looked at it. I was like, man, we really need to get the word out on that training. That's some really good training. So yeah, Danny and Savannah.
Man, kudos to y'all, because it's cool that you identified the need for a problem. Look, we're cops, and so we're easy fixers. And so we love to sit there and Monday morning quarterback and say, by God, we need to fix this and fix this. But 99% of people who are barking from the back are not the ones that take initiative to solve the problem. And so you didn't just bark in the back. You were like, hey, yeah, there's a problem, and here's the solution. And so you together are going to, start getting this training out there to train cops on such an important topic. I'm a dad. I don't know about if you got kids, but I know Jay does. And so this is an important being on patrol with infant deaths. And so kudos to both of you for taking the initiative to get this going.
Well, appreciate it. Savannah has actually came up with this. She's the brainchild.
There you go.
So it's her credit. I got lucky that she found me, and she let this old knuckle dragger join her on this journey. So
yeah, I was surprised when he's like, hey, I developed some training. And then I got the flyer, and there was a doctor behind it. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, this is legit. This is legit.
Yeah.
Well, we typically like to start off each podcast by talking about who you guys are individually, and then we'll kind of crescendo up to talk about why the need for the training was there and why y'all developed this. And so, Danny, if you want to go first and talk about where you grew up, how'd you get in law enforcement, where you're with the ME's office as an investigator. I think that's pretty cool. Where I grew up or worked, we didn't have that. We didn't have that option as an ME's office, but certainly didn't know any medical examiner or investigator. So if you want to kick off.
Sure. So I grew up in Fort Bend County, Rosenberg, and my neighbor was a lieutenant, as a kid. And so from the time I can remember, I was always going to be a cop.
Wouldn't have to be Slater, would it?
No.
Okay.
No.
Rosenberg.
No, yeah, it was he's no longer with us, but he was a lieutenant constable.
Okay.
And none of that meant anything to me. Cops were cops, right?
Yeah.
He had a gun and a pretty shiny badge, and he did, he put bad guys in jail. So I've always wanted to be a cop. Graduated high school, went to Sam Houston because I wasn't old enough to be a cop yet. But my 19th birthday, I was working in the jail. So a couple more days, I turned 39. That puts me at 20 years already.
What jail did you start off in?
Walker County.
Walker County.
Yes, sir. So I was a full-time student and working night shift in the jail.
Talk about how important it was, because we've said this on the show multiple times, the Explorer program, working in the jail setting and understanding and get a full perspective of how crucial communication is, especially on the streets. Talk about the benefits of you that you saw from your perspective of being in the jail and then transitioning out to the streets and kind of what that world looked like to you.
Oh yeah, 100%. I've told guys this for years. The jail is the best place to start.
Yep.
It's a controlled environment. You don't have to worry about your gun and all the things that you have to protect when you're on the streets. You just have to learn how to live that life and deal with those people and speak the way they speak. And I tell people all the time, the convicts at Walker County Jail raised me.
Yeah.
I went in at 19 years old, and they schooled me on, how the streets work.
Yeah.
Because Roseburg is not the mean streets.
No.
I grew up a good sheltered life.
The Dirty Bird?
Yeah, the Dirty Bird.
Bird.
I mean, we call it the Dirty Bird, but it's a good town. So I got exposed to things in the jail in a controlled environment, and those guys schooled me and they taught me how to communicate. And one of the biggest things that I tell the young guys when I talk to them is respect. If you talk to any convict, they'll tell you respect is key. Oh, yeah. And I have talked more people into my car than if I have had to fight them into my car.
That shit's earned. Respect is earned, not
100%.
I don't give a damn what uniform you got on. It is earned.
Yeah, 100%. So the jail is absolutely an amazing training ground for young guys coming out, especially if you don't know how to talk to people.
What year did you go in? Or start at the jail?
04.
So I was 03. Did they do, and what I think is funny is that all jails are typically the same, all right? You've got the clear trash bag with all the commissary shit. And then for the most part, all the jumpsuits. At Dallas County, they would take their uniforms. And why convicts wanted to look sharp in jail, I have no idea. Mm-hmm. I would want to be the ugliest, nastiest, smelliest person inside jail not to be messed with. But these guys, I couldn't iron this good.
Yes.
They walked. I mean, their jumpsuits were starch. You could take a jumpsuit and stand it up on its own. But
they make their own starch out of milk and stuff.
Yeah, they had no starch, no iron, but they looked better than us.
Yeah, and smelled better too. I was like, what are y'all trying to get?
Yeah.
But anyway, well, that's cool. And then you went started the jail, and then where did your career path go from there?
Well, once I got old enough to go to the academy, I came straight back to Fort Bend County. Got a job at the sheriff's office in the jail night shift. Yep. Put myself through Wharton County Junior College during the day. And then
you did not sleep on duty though, and not one time.
No, 0% chance.
Yeah.
No, I did not have an amazing sergeant that let me sleep in the pod in the jail. Not at all.
Yeah, with a fire coat jacket.
Exactly. And so once I graduated the academy, at that point I had almost done 2 years in the jail combined. So I hit the streets and never looked back.
What agency was that? The sheriff's office?
Yes, sir. I did 10 years at Fort Bend County Sheriff's Office, patrol, SWAT, criminal investigations, which is criminal investigations is what kind of sparked my love for protecting children. I did burglary and theft for a couple of years, and then I moved into sex crimes, and I was working touch cases against kids. Something I never wanted to do. I never wanted to do that. That's just... I'm a dad of 2. That was a sensitive subject for me. And
girls or boys?
2 boys, fortunately.
Well, and I'm gonna get into that in a minute because I think no offense to moms or ladies out there, but I think men who have daughters, in my own personal opinion, think it's more difficult for them to separate themselves as an investigator from that perspective, working those type of cases.
Sure.
Because historically or statistically, female victims are at a higher percentage than males. And then when you're especially dealing with kids, man, it's such a I don't want to say the word touchy topic, but it's a sensitive situation.
For sure.
And it's just a dynamic. So kudos to you for doing that because that's something I could not do.
Yeah, and I thought that, and then I didn't really have a choice, and I ended up working those cases. Best thing that ever happened to me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so I transitioned from touch cases into internet crimes, which Jay got to do with us as well while he was at Missouri City. And
you met him as a colleague.
Correct. Yeah.
No. I mean, we both worked ICAC together through the Houston Metro ICAC. So that's how I knew Danny is from ICAC when he worked at the DA's office. So yeah.
Well, shout out to Catfish Cops. He is a ICAC guy out of Dallas. Super funny, and he talks about specifically ICAC cases and cases that he's worked there at the Garland Police Department. So it's an intriguing or it's an interesting aspect of our jobs, and I hats off to you guys that worked it. So
it's it's a tough
Yeah.
tough field to be in, but man, it's a blast, and you do good things. So
Yeah. And I'm assuming that's how you met.
no, so that was at the sheriff's office, and then I left there and went to the DA's office. I did some work with attorneys, which if you've never dealt with attorneys, boy, that's fun.
Oh, yeah.
They're like herding cats, you know. But I did 4 years there. That was great. I got to see the other side of the coin. I got the amazing opportunity to be the chief over the medical examiner's office, which was a brand new office. So we built it from. We started.
Yeah.
We started with six full time, and we're at 26, I think now.
What year was that?
19. December of 19 we opened.
Wow.
So we've blown up. But Savannah called me, I don't know, 6 months ago, and she pitched this idea, about this training, and immediately it played on my prior life of protecting children.
Yeah.
Because up until this point, I hadn't really had much with that as far as the ME's office, and I realized that this was a good opportunity for us to do things that are, again, protecting children. So that's right up my alley.
Well, and switching to you, where did you grow up, and how did you get into the career field that you're in?
Well, I am not from Texas like y'all.
It's okay. You got here as quick as you could, though, right?
I know.
Where are you from, though?
I'm originally from West Virginia.
Okay.
She's not a Yankee.
Yeah. I heard that song coming in.
We seceded to the north, but yeah.
That was a doctor response.
And I went to school in Virginia, Norfolk area, so big military family. And then I went to college and got a bachelor's in biology and chemistry with a concentration in biomedical health. And then I went to graduate school at Dartmouth College and got a PhD in experimental and molecular medicine. So I actually am theoretically a neuroscientist or a neurophysiologist, so I study how the brain controls what your body does without thinking about it.
Wow.
So that's my specialty, and I've applied that to cases of sudden death in infancy.
SIDS, so otherwise known as SIDS. How did you end up here in Texas after college, being from absolutely beautiful country up in West Virginia?
After I finished my doctorate, I was actually unemployed for about a year. I was selling car parts and bartending, trying to just pay the bills. And I had applied to several different positions, and my current PI, Dr. Russell Ray, offered me a job. So I said, okay, I'm moving to Texas.
For those that don't know, we were able to, you and I both actually, to the Washington, D.C. Why do you look at me crazy?
I'm trying to figure out what we did together.
Yeah, well, there's a lot we've done together, but we went to D.C. Memorial Week, National Police Week, and during those extracurricular activities, hanging out with a bunch of pipe and drum bands at night, there were some keys were lost, and it resulted in me having to drive the memorial truck back from D.C. To Austin, and I was a little upset when I got ordered to do so, but I will tell you, I was able to travel through West Virginia for the first time ever. Listen, I'm going to say right here, right now, I love Texas, and I'll never leave Texas. But if I was to choose another state, it would be, oh my God, it's beautiful.
It's beautiful up there.
It is beautiful. I will say
God's
that
country.
there's not a lot of dentistry, though, up there. There's some people I saw at a gas station seem like they love Mountain Dew.
I'm not sure
So I will
that's
say that you've
necessarily
got
a
an
dentistry
absolutely
issue.
beautiful smile, and that you did not inherit what I saw at the gas station, because it looked like the Hills Have Eyes had threw up inside this gas station. I was quite scared. And I was unarmed, too, by the way, because I had to fly up there. Anyway,
In a police truck.
in a blue line painted police truck with police memorabilia all over it, with unarmed. In West Virginia, but I was welcomed scarily, with the Hills Have Eyes people up there. They embraced me, and I ate shit that I didn't know I would eat in West Virginia at a gas station, and so all is well. I survived. So you started at the Fort Bend County Medical Examiner's Office working.
I work at Baylor College of Medicine.
I'm sorry. So you're just connected with that aspect of how. So that another reason why we need to talk about how this all works, because I didn't work with ME's office, and I didn't know kind of how that worked. And you being an investigator, but you saw a need for the infant death situation with SIDS. As a patrolman, as a cop, you show up to those kind of scenes, and it's just kind of like you kind of go through the process. Some agencies are different, especially rural areas. You saw the importance of it. Y'all saw the importance of it, and so we're going to talk about this much-needed training. So I don't know who wants to kick off first to talking about how the why of what you identified seeing it, and we'll talk about that.
Absolutely. So one of the most important takeaways from this that I think is a really important message is that the number one cause of death in children under the age of 18 is actually infant sleep-related death. So your child is more likely to die in that first year of life from unsafe sleep than they are from anything else until they turn 18. So it's a really important and devastating issue. And from the research side, we're trying to still figure out what's going on. Why are these children dying? And there are unsafe sleep factors in the environment. So having pillows or blankets, things like that, it's not safe. But that doesn't mean the baby was suffocated because there was a light blanket. You know, there are other things in the brain that we know that are slightly abnormal, right? So your ability to respond to low oxygen levels, all of that's regulated by your brain. And so if there are small little abnormalities, that can contribute to it. But part of the problem on the research side is we don't always get all the information about what's actually in the environment. And so when it comes to investigating these deaths, we need really detailed documentation of where everything is, what brand is it, how heavy was it, a detailed history of where the mom grew up, what she was exposed to during pregnancy, because the baby was going to be exposed to that. So there are so many different factors. It's really frustrating. So my husband's a cop, and so from his perspective, I give him a 20-page sheet of questions to ask parents, and like you said, you just show up and you're just, I don't want to be here. This is uncomfortable. Yeah. It's uncomfortable for everybody, and you got this giant pamphlet you're trying to flip through. But I need that information. So basically what we're trying to do is teach cops why it's important for like every single question. Why do we need to know that? So then y'all can then tell the parents, like, if they don't want to answer something, you can be like, hey, this is why we need to know it. It's important for this, this, and that, and we're not really sure yet, so we need this data for X, Y, and Z.
When you talk about brands, are you talking about like a specific style and brand of like pillow, right? I mean, is it down to that will assist you in the research that you're doing to better basically save lives, I mean, of kids?
Exactly.
What age group are the infants, you know, obviously from 1 week old all the way up to what age are you seeing the most impact with this SIDS death?
So it's up to a year old, but the peak is between about 2 and 4 months of age.
Okay. Okay. You know, we've all been cops, there's street cops, and to see, I guess I've had many talks with myself driving home. You see children in environments that they can't control, right? I mean, their parents are who they are, and even sometimes their parents, these children's parents, were just kind of born into a crappy situation, and so you see kids that are sleeping in conditions with, you know, their mom while they're breastfeeding, while she's drinking a beer. I mean, we see this kind of stuff all the time, and you're like, how is that kid able to survive that? And then you've got literally people that live in mansions that have beautiful homes, and they've taken every single precaution that they can, and one doesn't make it there. I've had that mental, you know, question to myself many times as driving home, as probably most of our listeners and watchers do. So, what is this data showing right now that you can at least connect the dots to some degree that what you're seeing on your side of what's the biggest contributor?
I'd say by far, unsafe sleep is going to be one of the biggest modifiable risk factors, right? So if we're talking about things that you as a parent can change, you can put your baby in a safe sleep environment. But like you said, it's important to recognize that thousands and thousands and thousands of babies sleep in unsafe sleep environments and don't die every night, right? So there is that biological piece to it. But part of the definition of SIDS specifically is that it's an otherwise healthy baby. There's really no test we have to tell you whether or not your infant is more at risk or not. We're working on it. We're trying to develop those things. And post-mortem, on the autopsy side, there are different abnormalities, like slight differences that we see. But there's still a lot of work to be done. And it is so hard and tricky to do that work. Just, you know, thinking about from your side, right, it's uncomfortable doing those investigations, things like that. We have to call these parents and ask them for tissue samples and blood samples from the baby they just lost and have them consent in order to do research, you know? And so that's really tricky and uncomfortable for everybody. But it's really the only way that we can get those answers and try and figure out a way to, tell people, hey, your baby's at risk, or you have an increased risk for this, and that.
What can patrol officers do on their initial reports? Is it more of a CID aspect that you guys are looking into? A lot of classes, Jay, you can weigh in on this, are either Patrol 1, meaning that the cop that just graduated the academy, this class is designed for them, or you have cops that are seasoned 20-year vets that you want to. Where is this class developed, or is it for everybody?
So it's all the above. It's really going to focus on either patrolmen or detectives that are, as part of their job, investigate infant death. So if you work in the jail or dispatch, it doesn't really apply to you because you're not going to be on those scenes.
Gotcha.
Now, when you move to a role where you will be investigating those, then sure. And then it depends on how big your agency is, right? Some agencies have detectives. And if they handle it, then they need to go to the training. Some smaller agencies, the patrolmen, you catch it, you clean it, all the way through prosecution. Yep. So they're the detectives, so they need the training. So it just depends. And we're focusing mostly on the rural counties that are under they don't have a medical examiner. So the JP is in charge of their death inquest. So we're training those agencies to do this this type of investigation and gather the information that we need, because it's not being gathered. So when you have a county that has a medical examiner,
right,
for like Fort Bend County and Harris County, for example, the medical examiner investigators go to the death scene and they get, I'm gonna call it the SUDI form. So SUDI is Sudden Unexpected Infant Death Investigation, right? So the SUDI form and the DAL reenactment are done by the medical examiner's office, so law enforcement doesn't have to worry about it. In the rural counties, the JPs aren't doing the SUDI form and the DAL reenactment, and neither is law enforcement.
I've never even heard of that.
Yeah.
So that's exactly the same. I mean, when he was telling me about this, I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And he knows I was a CID supervisor.
At a good size agency.
Well, yeah, but we had a medical examiner's
Right.
office. So, yeah, when he was saying, you don't know about the SUDI form, I'm like, no, I have no idea what that is. Like, and that was when I realized, like, this training is needed. Like, I've been in law enforcement over 20 years, connected to training, and I've never heard of a SUDI form. Mm-hmm. And then Danny's telling me about a doll that they bring to the scene to provide to, the victim's parents or, the caretaker's parents to say, hey, how are you holding this kid? How was the child positioned using a doll? And I had never heard that. I was like, wow, that's some very interesting and very needed training across the state, because, I mean, the majority of our members across the state of Texas, they don't work with medical examiners' offices, so we deal with a lot of rural, think about, Skip up in the Panhandle.
Yeah.
There's a lot of rural counties. There's some counties that only have 3,000 people in them. And they're going to send an officer there for this for this incident, and they're not going to know what to do or how to handle this situation. How often does that come up in, Hemp Hill County or whatever? So,
Marion County, it's population 5,000 up in Jefferson.
Yeah, so
we didn't have that.
And see, what a lot of people don't realize is even the counties, the rural ones, right? If you need an autopsy, there is a pathologist that your county contracts with to do autopsies, right? Because your JP can't do it. So they send the decedent somewhere to get an autopsy, and it's going to be done by a medical examiner.
It's typically regional,
right?
There's
right.
regional.
They're going to
places.
send it to Dallas or Austin or Houston or Fort Bend or wherever that has an ME's office. And so there's 15 other counties that we contract for, and we provide their autopsy service. Those medical examiners, 100% would love to get this information and will benefit from it, but they don't control that county, and the law doesn't require that the SUDI form or the DAL reenactment be done. So it's not being done in the rural counties.
Being an investigator at an ME's office, again, which I've never heard of, and I think it's awesome that you are in that role. With Sid's death, it's so difficult because I'm not saying that the case could be criminal, but if the parents were, and I can't say the word negligent because of the mental aspect of it, how would you investigate on a criminal case that if the child was deemed a Sid's death, but there might have been some negligence about how, let's just say a kid was breastfeeding and the mom fell asleep, which happens oh my God, all the time. How would you investigate that case and look at it from a criminal aspect?
Well, so we don't do things from a criminal aspect. So
Okay.
we do ours parallels law enforcement. So you're going to have your detective there, and he's looking for the criminal aspect of things,
Okay.
right? Because we always approach them like it could be a crime, right?
Yeah,
Until
yeah.
we determine it's not. We go in there, and it's a cross between law enforcement and medical, right? So when we're looking at it, we're looking at some of the same things that the police agencies are looking at, but we're also looking at things that they don't care about that our doctors care about. We're there gathering the information for the doctors because they're the ones that are going to try and use all the information to make a determination, especially in a natural case. You know, when you have a clear homicide, there's no guess there, right?
Yeah.
We know what happened, and then it's up to the police agency to do what they've got to do to file charges. When you've got a natural, or in a case with an infant where you don't know what happened, that's where you start collecting the information about sleep, feeding, and all those factors so that they can start trying to pick away and figure out what the most likely cause of death is on top of all the testing that they're going to do for the things that Savannah talked about.
Yeah. And I guess this is going to be sent to, where's the collection point of all this data? I'm sure, obviously, you're a part of that. And is this a national-wide campaign? Or if it's not, I'm getting the sense it's not.
Yeah, so
You were truly launching this in Fort Bend County.
in the state of Texas is the goal. But yeah, so the beauty of the U.S., but also a con in some ways, is freedom, right? And we don't want the bigger guy above us telling us what to do, which means that every county gets to decide how they do things and how they run things, which is wonderful for very many reasons, but it also limits us in situations like this where everybody's going to have a different way to report data or document data. So right now, the way it works in Texas is there's groups called Child Fatality Review Teams, or CFRTs. Have you all heard of those?
I have.
Yeah. So basically, the job of the CFRTs in each region is to review every child fatality under the age of 18. Once they review those cases, they input them into a national database that's run jointly by the CDC and the National Center for Fatality Review and Prevention. And then that database is a national database that any researcher can request data from, things like that. The problem is that Texas is so large, and there are so many rural counties. Most of these places don't have CFRTs, and if they do, they're not meeting regularly, and they don't have the data that they need. So even if they did meet about an infant fatality, they're not going to have a SUDI form. They're not going to have a DOL reenactment, so they're not going to be able to answer most of the questions. So basically, what I'm doing is making these networks with Danny and training everyone to get all of the data that we need, and then kind of serving as a grassroots movement. I've kind of made my own database to document it, and then hopefully eventually I can input that into the national database so that it's there. But in the interim, I basically made my own database to put it into for the state of Texas.
Has there been any legislative attempt to make it mandatory across the state up until this point?
Not that I'm aware of. And I think so. Savannah talked about the CFRTs. You remember CRTs for the child abuse?
Yeah.
So this is the same thing, right? They just call them CFRTs.
Hey, and the F stands for fatality.
Yeah.
Hey,
Where's my kudos, bro?
This guy
Good
here.
job, bud.
Thank you.
Good job.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jay.
He's from East Texas, so
Okay.
When I make a hoo-ha, he
it's
has
a big deal. It's
he
a
has-
big
he
deal.
has
We
to give me a
celebrate
high
it.
five. Celebrate.
Um,
Positivity, baby.
absolutely. You got to bring your brothers up.
Yeah, that's right.
So, and y'all will appreciate this language, right? CFRTs should happen, but there's no shall,
That's right.
right? So you understand that.
Oh, yeah.
So some places they're being done, some places they're not. And when they're not being done, the information isn't being collected and put where it needs to be put. So the first leg of this training, right, is to convince all the cops of these agencies to do stuff that nobody requires them to do, but we want them to do it, and we're going to explain why it's important and hope that we can convince them to buy in to the fact that, hey, there's no instant gratification. You'll probably never know how many children you save, but it saves children.
Yeah.
And a perfect example is through the years, they've decided that certain, I don't want to say any names, but certain products aren't safe for children. You know, mattresses or different devices you use for your kids. That came from information. Kids had to die in order for us to figure out that's not safe for kids. that's what the information is used for, on top of many other things. Yeah. So that's the point of the first leg of the training, is to convince people to start getting the information sent in, and then we're going to work on getting it.
Not to put you guys on the spot, but if, because you're very intimate with this knowledge and this database at the grassroots level, the beginning, this stage of the infant stages, no pun intended, who do you think would it be the county? It would probably be more responsible to put their responsibilities on the county judge, would it not? Or, because you can't put it on one specific JP, because you just.
Well, I mean, I look at it as more of a, like you said, every county reports to, these inquests go to some medical examiner. So even, in the Panhandle, they probably go to like Lubbock or Amarillo. I don't know which one has an ME's office, but it seems like the ME's office would be the collector of that data. So getting it from those JPs and then being able to do the research, providing that research, that at least to me, I don't know, maybe y'all have a different idea, but.
Yeah, so the county would be responsible for the CFRT, right? So that, starting with the county officials, might be where you start to get that going. Now, the information you send to, Lubbock does have one. Good job. Lubbock has one.
Yeah.
Good job, Jay.
If you contract with Lubbock, right, so you're sending this information to them, but you're from a different county than Lubbock, it's not their responsibility to hold your CFRT, right? It's your responsibility to hold it, but they are getting that information that you're providing so that they can use it for their autopsies, right? So it helps them.
I guess my point is that this last year at the legislation, due to the fact of Uvalde, legislation was passed, and actually, it might have been 2 sessions ago, but every county in Texas, to all 254, are mandated to, and I think it falls under the sheriff and or the county judge, that they are required to have school safety briefings, almost like a task force, right? And so my thought process immediately is if we could work with you or kind of lay the foundation of like, hey, this would be good, and get that done, then it would standardize how this stuff is being reported, which is the sole purpose of everything anyway.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
And so that was my initial thought process.
Yeah, 100%. So the first thought on the unpopular opinion, and if this ever happens, we'll blame Savannah because it's going to require the knuckle draggers to do more training, right? Mandatory training, but it could be part of our mandatory training that we all have to do, right?
But if you implemented this stuff in the academy, then you wouldn't have any bitches because the academy guys aren't going to grow up.
Right. And so they get the training.
I learned something.
Right. Yeah. They'll take whatever you get. Yeah. You can abuse the academy guys.
Yeah.
So they're getting the training at least, right? But then there's no guarantee that it's going to be used. So the next step to that could be that it's like we have with family violence situations where there's mandatory forms you have to fill out. If you had an infant death, and when you have this type of death, you have to fill out this form, it's required, then it would just be done. Yeah, patrol guys would grunt for a little while, and then it would become part of life and move on,
Y'all remember and I don't mean to poke fun at the family violence, but it was a pain in our butt. It was the family violence bubble forms. Did y'all have?
Oh, yeah.
I'm so thankful we don't have to. Well, when I transitioned to a larger department, we had secretaries that did it just based off our report.
But yeah, I mean, that's exactly a good point is, we have to do those statutorily. We have to do those forms. I mean, yeah.
So for those that don't know, you just said something a while ago that the difference between should and shall, it's kind of a joke amongst law enforcement, is that when you read the law, some legislators that had the intent to pass good bills, it comes out, and however it was introduced, and then when it's passed, it gets watered down through the legislative process, right? And so what becomes, or what was should started as a shall, this shall be implemented and this shall be done, sometimes because of amendments that are dropped on it and so forth in our legislative process, it becomes, what'd you say, should?
A should, yeah.
A should. And so those two words mean totally different, I guess the spirit of the meaning behind it. And so what we're talking about is if we can get this written as a shall for all law enforcement across Texas, then it would be beneficial really to our youth and the people who we want to protect anyway, as our kids.
Sure.
To continue our legacies of like the Jay McClellans, the Tyler Owens of the world. So anyway, maybe we can work on that.
Yeah, and I think the next step of that, though, is having a standardized reporting method. So once the form's filled out, if it just sits in a department, it can't be used for anything. Yeah. So having some kind of submission process, even for those more rural counties where they don't have a CFRT, but send it somewhere where it can still be input and that data still be used, that's going to have to also be part of it. Because otherwise, y'all are going to be spending all that time doing those extra forms for nothing.
Right.
I'm going to say DPS should be responsible for housing the information. So that way you don't get stuck with it in Fort Bend County.
Somebody, you know, I mean,
Down
the
in your
information goes to the CDC at some
Yeah.
point too. So, you know, maybe somebody, but there's got to be
Yeah.
somewhere to
channel.
send it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when is the training going to start, and maybe where is the first training going to be held? Yeah.
So the plan is to eventually roll this out across the state. And we'd like to have multiple training locations throughout the next year. But our first one is going to be in Victoria County Sheriff's Office, Victoria, Texas.
Yep.
It's October 10th and 11th. That's 8 to 5, 16 hours of free TCOL credit. And then we'll, you know, get the nuts and bolts squared away from that one and start trying to make connections. We've had people from other parts of the state already reach out and say, hey, when are y'all coming to us? So
That's cool.
yeah, we're going to try and roll it out everywhere. But the first one that we've got scheduled right now is October 10th and 11th at Victoria County Sheriff's Office.
We're going to drop y'all's information in this episode and also in the description. But if anybody has any inquiries, who can they contact? Who's the point of contact for these training sessions?
Well, actually, you can register through our website now. So I've set their link up through tmpa.org /training. You just look for it, the class, sudden infant death. And then you can register through our website. So it'll take you to an external link. It'll take you to the Victoria County Sheriff's Office link. You can fill out, sign up. So yeah, I encourage you, you know, if you're in the coastal bend, you know, it's not too far, sign up for that. But yeah, I mean, so we've already kind of made it easy for them. That's kind of where we kicked this off, is trying to build this, you know, this training up and saying, hey, we need to get the word out. So we've been sharing it on, you know, social media and through our contacts in the training department here at Tmpa. And so, yeah, we made it easy for them to sign up. They just can go to our website and click the link.
But she's a busy lady. So if anybody does have questions, they can give me a call.
Okay.
And then if I can't answer the question,
You'll
I'll bug
direct
her.
it over to her.
Yeah, I'll bug her. But yeah, so I'm at the Fort Bend County Sheriff's Office. They can, you know, Google that number, and I'm always there. Unfortunately, my job never ends. So
Well, we greatly appreciate you guys coming on.
Yeah,
Greatly appreciate you guys taking the initiative to, you know, talk about such an important topic. I mean, this is a big deal, and it's just a simple one more process in collecting data that could potentially save hundreds of lives, you know, later on. So thank y'all. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
You got anything else, Jay?
No.
So I want to know if you guys studied for the questions at the end of this episode.
absolutely.
You didn't brief her, did you?
No.
All right. So each episode we do rapid fire. Yeah.
Okay.
I know that you're connected with law enforcement in such a manner that I'm going to continue to ask these questions anyway. All right, you ready?
Okay.
What is your favorite cop car, favorite line from a cop movie or favorite cop movie, and your favorite drink of choice when you're off work hanging out? You being a bartender should be very detailed. You go first.
Crown Vic.
That was mine.
Hey.
But, you know, I
okay.
started in 04, so that's all we had were the Vics.
The Crown Vic.
And I have survived some horrendous wrecks in the Crown
Yes.
Vic. So
It's the workhorse, man.
yeah, I love them.
Yeah.
My favorite cop show was literally, is gonna sound dumb, was Cops.
Yeah.
I literally.
I wish they'd bring it back, man.
Yeah, I mean the Brooklyn Nine-Nines and different things that she loves. They're good shows. They're funny. They're not reality, so they're funny. But I loved Cops growing up. Like, that's all I ever watched. My parents hated it. But yeah, and then
I call them training videos.
Yeah,
Wow.
100%.
We
Yeah.
training videos, babe.
unfortunately, they make you think that's how being a cop is, right? It's all fun,
Very good editing.
you know.
Yeah.
They don't show you any of the paperwork, but you
So
know.
I'll ask you that as this. I would watch Cops and be like, man, that dude's got his belt keepers on a certain way in his back. Maybe, and I'm going to try that shit out tonight and watch like the different style of uniforms across America. It's really fascinating. I mean, you got guys that wear, you know, like our DPS troopers. They used to wear the high gloss, shiny, you know, silver buttons, but now they're transitioning, I think, into a modern day police uniform. But man, I thought it was always interesting to watch it. Like Florida, I love the green. I love the green ones with the nut. What do you
They
think?
all wear green.
I know, but you had the like you didn't approve. No,
I mean,
You didn't like the green?
I'm not a fan of the green.
So
No.
that's what I'm saying is that we
But-
all have these opinions of like different uniforms look cool.
They all look the same in Florida. Even their patches look the same.
Yeah, they do.
Like the cars look the same. Like
Yeah, it looks like Carmen.
Yeah.
What is it? Where in the world is Carmen
yeah,
San Diego?
exactly.
That's
I
what it
actually
looks
have a funny story about cops. When I was with the sheriff's office in Fort Bend County, we had a disturbance down in Fresno, and the guy that I arrested for family violence, he was a cameraman for cops.
Oh, shit.
He was the nicest guy I'd ever
I
arrested.
bet he knew.
Said,
the
man, I
process.
support the police. I'm a cameraman for cops. Like, no,
Sorry.
sorry, bud.
Yeah. We
it's
frown
like,
upon beating the shit out of your wife.
yeah.
Sorry
So,
about that.
but yeah,
All right, drink of choice.
Definitely whiskey on the rocks.
Yeah. What kind of whiskey?
It depends. Did I just
Depends on
get
what
paid?
night,
Did I
yeah.
just get paid or not?
Yeah, yeah.
If I just got paid,
That's fair.
Blanton's, you know?
That's fair. That's fair. All right, you're up. Favorite cop car?
Crown Vic.
Yes. By far?
Yes.
Yes.
It's a tie between The Wire and Brooklyn
ooh,
Nine-Nine.
the wire.
I've never
That
seen
was a good
Brooklyn
one.
Nine-Nine.
The Wire is a good one.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine is stupid funny.
It is hilarious.
You know,
Okay.
You've seen The Wire?
I have seen The Wire.
That's like the cops we all wanted to be.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. The PBR is my favorite.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't be mad about that.
No,
No.
I can't. Can't.
It's the best beer in the world.
So I
Got
went
an
to
award on
I went to Louisville, Kentucky. Speaking of PBR, if you order a PBR, they give you a shot of whiskey with every PBR you order in Louisville, Kentucky.
Dang.
So if you go to Louisville, order a PBR, it'll come with
Just
a
to
shot.
get the shot.
Yeah, it comes with a shot of whiskey.
So
in
we
most
need to,
bars.
We need to do this training in Louisville, Kentucky.
Yeah,
Apparently.
That
that's right.
sounds like it.
I mean, we can bring it nationwide.
I hope it's not Angel's Envy. Just throwing it out there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But,
Well, you can go back and listen to one podcast, and you'll find out about Angels.
yeah, I
Envy.
won't talk about it right now. I'm having a good day. I'm having a good day.
Hey, my favorite uniform, though, you talked about that a minute ago. Man, growing up, I was 100% going to be a road roach,
Oh yeah.
DPS trooper, right? Love their uniforms. Those guys always look sharp. But it didn't work out. I decided down the road I wanted to be more of a patrol cop than a street cop. I don't know what you mean. I love troopers, but yeah, man, their uniforms, I love them, and I love that they haven't changed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love
no.
it.
Well, they're changing a little bit because of the border operation and so forth. But man, what an iconic, really uniform they've got. I posted something on Texas FOP's Facebook today about a Belgium. I guess his position's a national police officer, and this dude loved Texas so much he took his. Looks like a Tesla.
It is a Tesla.
Is it
I
a
saw the
Tesla?
post. Yeah.
He painted it just like DPS.
Yep.
He loves Texas that much.
We
Yeah.
were just talking about those stupid trucks they just came out.
Oh, the
Cybertrucks?
They are
DPS got
awesome.
some, or they?
No.
Or they I know.
No.
A lot of police agencies are getting some.
They are so cool, but they look hideous.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm up in the air about. Me living near the Austin area,
Yeah.
you see a lot of them, and just it hadn't. There's some trucks that kind of grow on you, and then but this one,
Dude, they're bulletproof.
I get it. I mean, but I just
They say
I'm like,
that.
but I'm like old school Ford, Chevy, like flat nose trucks.
yeah.
Make it look
84
like one of those.
84 Chevy Silverado.
Yes.
Yeah, with that big block.
Man, then maybe.
It sounds like your stomach's messed up when you started.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
The glass packs. Maybe I should have said that was East Texas in me.
I agree with you. It's not pretty, but it is functional.
Yeah.
That's what I tell my wife all the time. I meant me.
Yeah.
See, y'all went down the wrong. Oh my God. You got anything else?
No, brother, I'm good.
Hey, you guys take care. Stay safe. We're going to put all the information about this important training in the description and including your email. We're going to throw your email out there. That way the whole world can know and
Fantastic.
give you some fan love.
Well, they can just email us, training@tmpa.org, and I'll get it to them,
Yeah.
however we want to do it. But, yeah, I mean, I believe this training is very important.
Yeah.
I'd love to see it, blossom and go statewide and really make a difference educating cops and educating the community to save lives really is what it's about. So,
You said blossom.
well, thank you.
Yeah.
I try to use bigger
It's-
words every
yeah,
once in a while.
Man, it just spirited.
Oh.
I just got spirited right there. Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we'll end on that. You guys take care. Stay safe. God bless you. And as always, may God bless Texas. We're out.